This subject is discussed in Bodia's book called Symbolic Exchange and Death. Bodia explained that a system can only survive if it appears binary, like the political spectrum of left and right, which is essentially a deceptive representation of the same system. Every unified system that aims to survive must establish a binary framework. Yin exists because Yang exists. Women exist because men exist. Poverty exists because wealth exists. Allies exist because enemies exist. The power of the American nation lies in its opposition to adversaries. If the enemy ceases to exist, the power symbolized by America also fades away. It thrives through its contrast. Pay close attention and try to grasp this point, as it holds the key to understanding the world we currently inhabit. This is a contentious notion, yet I believe it holds some validity. It may also explain why Bodia has been marginalized from television appearances, interviews and discussions since the 1990s and early 20s. Bodia openly criticized the current system, asserting that it fabricates illusory dualities such as the left-right political divide. In reality, it is the same underlying system, but for its own survival, it must create the illusion of two distant systems. In the same interview with Le Nouvel Observateur, the journalist remarked to Baudrillard, "It is quite remarkable to observe that nowadays all major successes in American marketing, from The Matrix to Madonna's latest album, explicitly present themselves as critique of the system that overwhelmingly promotes them." Baudrillard responds, "This is what makes the era quite suffocating. The system produces a deceptive negativity that is integrated into the spectacle products, much like planned obsolescence is included in industrial objects. It is in fact the most effective way to lock out any genuine alternative. There is no longer an external omega point on which to rely in contemplating this world, no more antagonistic functions, there is only a fascinated adherence. However, it is important to know that the closer a system approaches perfection, the closer it comes to total catastrophe. It is a form of objective irony where nothing is ever predetermined. The 11th of September attacks were part of this, of course. Terrorism is not an alternative power. It is merely a metaphor for the near-suicidal reversal of Western power upon itself. Baudrillard conveys a wealth of dense information in a brief text. In essence, he asserts that this is yet another characteristic of postmodernism, the illusion of duality. Today's survival-dependent system is compelled to fabricate dualities. Thus, we have left and right in politics, the West and terrorism, and the West and jihadist enemies from the East. Baudrillard stated that jihadism, terrorism, and Islamism are byproduct of the West. They are creation of the West. He implies that the American state and September 11 are all part of a plan, representing a duality contract to ensure the perpetuation of the American empire. Every empire requires a duality, and this duality must be simulated to sustain the same empire. Notably, throughout history, there has always been some form of duality. When it wasn't the Cold War, it was terrorism. As the Cold War was fading, terrorism and jihadism emerged as enemies of the West. This endured for a while, and now, with the new enemy being the virus, the pandemic, the question of jihadism and Islam has nearly vanished. The virus has become the enemy for the past 2 years.
Officers were forcing people out of their rented apartments so they could turn them into temporary quarantine facilities, all in the name of a war against a resurgent COVID.
And now we witness a return to a Cold War-like scenario where Russia is once again perceived as the enemy.
I think we should all give Putin credit for curing COVID, right? Because when his invasion happened, COVID went away.
So thought about that.
Think about it, it's almost to the day. So we have to give him some credit at least for doing that. He may be the bad guy of the world, but at least he cured COVID for everybody, nearly instantly.
Fair.
And you can see these pictures here. These are the aftermath, effectively, of a Russian attack on an area of the city popular with restaurants.
We have perpetually existed within this duality. There has been no period of tranquility. The system constantly necessitates a semblance of duality. Yet it is completely illusory construct because the same individual always occupy the top positions. The political duality of left and right philosophy has entirely disappeared. In a sense, the concept of left and right no longer hold meaning. You are engulfed by a system that governs you. Vote for whomever you wish. All candidates are part of the same system. Regardless of the candidate you choose, the outcome remains unchanged. When you vote for Obama and he becomes president, it holds absolutely no significance as he merely obeys the commands of his masters. Whether you vote for Trump or Biden, it's the same story. You are led to believe that there are different agendas. You are made to think that various possibilities exist, but it's all a deception. These are mere puppets who dutifully carry out the orders of the system. When a president makes a decision, it's not really his decision, it's the decision of the system. Therefore, no matter whom you vote for, you will end up with the exact same outcome. It's not about voting left or right, extreme right or extreme left. You are trapped in a simulation, experiencing the same situation. The illusion of choice gives the people a semblance of power, thereby pacifying them.